everybody. Welcome back to the Flannel Phillip channel. On today's episode, we're doing a Cummins N14 swap and taking this 80s Kenworth up to the 90s. It's going to be a good episode. Stick around. And today I want to tell you a little bit about a project that's going on in the shop. It's the 1984 Kenworth W900B model. And you guys have probably seen this other times on the channel or on Instagram. But this thing is interesting because it's got the big cam 400. And Mark, I shouldn't say we. Mark and Brian are swapping in the N14 that was originally going to go into that cab over that we've been talking about. So, Mark, tell me just a little bit about what happened on this particular, like why we're not using this thing, why we're not rebuilding the big cam.
Well, we had concerns. We were using coolant. Started using coolant after they replaced the head on it here. Brian did 6 months ago.
Yep.
And we were figuring that the head had a injector cup go bad. We weren't able to exactly pinpoint, and there was a lot of cheese whiz up in the top of this block from when we did it a couple years ago. We had a lot of repair sleeving.
Yep.
And head bolt dowels put in too. And
right.
We had such issues with it before, and Brian was very hesitant with it now. With what should we do with it? What if we continue to eat coolant after we stick a new sleeve, new cylinder in?
Right.
Another head, and we just didn't want to tie ourselves into being in a predicament of still eating coolant after the fact. And so when we got it apart here today, actually just saw number 2 cylinder also.
Yeah.
I had the manifold off completely. Number 2 looks like it's been eating some coolant.
So we had a burnt piston on number 6.
Right.
And so we pulled the piston and the sleeve out, and as we did that, we had this bearing look like that. And if the rest of the bearings look like that and the block isn't buildable anymore, we decided to just cut our losses.
Can't trust it.
Had the N14 sitting on the floor, so we just decided to move in that direction instead of repairing this.
Right, exactly.
When we saw that.
Right.
Stop the bleeding.
Yep. And that's all like new pistons, new like liners, just all reman head, all freshened up. New heads, yep. So
Injectors.
It's going to be electronic then. So we sent the ECM in, right? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be
totally rebuilt ECM.
Yeah. And wiring harness
too, right? A little bit.
It's set for 500.
Okay.
Yep.
So
kind of nice.
It's going to be spec'd like a redhead, but
right. Yep.
Okay.
Because originally it wasn't a 500 horsepower. It was originally a 370. Yep.
Set at 330, I think.
Okay.
And you can do that just in the ECM.
Actually, we had to change injectors. The cam, we were able to stay with the original cam from the original motor. It was within spec to run as a redhead cam.
Okay. Huh.
But we had to change injectors and turbo, and
doesn't take much.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And ECM.
Yep.
It's still safe at 500. Well, same as.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I could have gone to 5 1/4, but from what I've heard, the hard parts on this motor
Keep it at 5.
Everything's more reliable at 500.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
For longevity.
And so for wiring harness and things like that, we can borrow stuff from that Freightliner sitting outside, right? For whatever we need to for
wiring harness
and stuff like that.
The harness that's back here is just the motor harness then?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
that's what's on the floor back
Okay.
there.
So then whatever we need from the motor to the truck, then
We'll just have to.
And the whole throttle assembly I just ordered today, it'll be here tomorrow. That comes with the base for the pedal, and the potentiometer, the sensor.
Yep.
I just ordered that. That'll be here tomorrow. That was like 400 and some change. So
Okay.
I thought that was a good deal.
Yeah. So that's one of the inputs, and like the switches for the Jake and powers and grounds, I think, is probably the main stuff. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's going to be simplified in the
Yeah.
linkage stuff.
Yep.
Cruise, right? Your
Yeah.
Electron, that's all built right in now.
Yep.
Right in ECM and that.
And now, so it's going to have an air-to-air now. And so, Brian, you were saying that you just picked this up at the junkyard today.
Yeah.
And this thing was a 95 Pete 379 with a 3406 E-Cat. And we're hoping to use this air-to-air and radiator. And we'll probably have to switch the mounts from the old one for the bottom mounts here. And we're going to do something different with the ears to support it back to the frame. So we're gonna end up doing it similar, like the cooling elbows and pipes and things like that are gonna be similar to that 97 there, because that has an N14 in it. So we're kind of figuring it out as we go, and that's hot rodding.
Under it too.
Ooh, yeah, that's right. So
Might have an extra one sitting on the shelf.
So the old 84 is going to be electronic and updated. So yeah, a lot of pieces switch over from the old 855 to the new one. And a lot of pieces are different. So we're kind of rob Peter to pay Paul and using what we can. And we have a few other project trucks parked outside that we can borrow parts from or whatever we need to. So just figure it out. That's the name of the game. Let's see. Yeah, I wanted to show you this too. This is that bearing that came out. So they had some damage up in there. Gotta have a workbench. Oh yeah, there's that bent one. That's from the big cam. When that, yeah, a couple of pair of bent rods. Here's the piston that we dug into that thing. So definitely, yeah, yep. So the cam was all eaten up. Follower. Yep. Yeah, so there was a bunch of chewed up valve train pieces, and so we had.
Camshaft is leaning back.
Is it still there? Okay. This is another big cam that was kind of a parts engine for us. Yeah, there you can see. That's part of the damage on that big cam. So, all those things put together made it a wise choice. If you're wondering, we took the fuel tank out because it had some pinholes in it, so we took care of that. Since the truck is down for the count, it made sense to fix it then. There's Brandon. He's the pilot at old number 8. So.
Mike got painted those valve covers.
He did, yep. In my backyard.
Okay, we better go back now.
Get your hand back there and pushing it from banging.
So Mark, explain quick what it is that you're drilling a hole for in the firewall.
Popping a hole through for the Cummins, the N14 chassis harness.
Yep.
That is going to go through the firewall here, and then we're going to connect up with the original harness for the motor, and taking the FLD 120 Freightliner harness, and putting that on the inside of this truck, and we're going to tie in switches and get basically all factory harness all the way up to the dash.
Perfect. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Doing it right.
Yeah.
This is the donor truck over here. This old Freightliner. This is the truck that the engine originally was in, and so what Mark has done is stolen a part of the harness that he's going to need. He's drilling the hole for the pass-through connector. He's already labeled any of the switches, any of the wiring that he's going to have to keep. Got the hot wires, got the ground wires, screws, Jake switches, things like that. They were in the Freightliner. They're now getting transferred over to the Kenworth. So that's what he's doing right now. And the guy is really, really sharp. He knows what he's doing. Wanted to also mention that years ago, when Brian and I were running together, once in a while we would bump into Old School Jerry. And if you haven't checked out that video, that's one of the top videos on my channel. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll find it. And Old School Jerry is an awesome old school trucker. He's got a really, really neat old Kenworth. Well, Brian was so taken with his truck, Brian's basically built the younger sister to Old School Jerry's truck, honestly. Jerry's, I think, was a 70, I'm struggling with what year his was. Early, mid-70s. But same paint scheme, the black and the white. Jerry's has a little bit more gold on it, definitely more diamonds. He's been with that truck from the very beginning. So when Brian bought this truck, he has been slowly kind of updating it and making it more and more like Jerry's. Some of that's intentional, some of it's not intentional. It's just kind of, we really liked what Jerry did with his, and he's using it every day still. He's on the road. And so Brian, in doing the cutoff of the frame and doing the international rear clip, just like is on my truck. You can also watch that video if you want to see how we did that. But it's an international from like the back of the cab, rearward. Jerry's has also been converted to electronic N14 Cummins, just like we have here. The updated style 13-speed transmission. It's really a more modern truck. You know, this thing is basically a 90s and mid-2000s truck underneath and inside, but yet it retains a lot of its old school look, which is awesome. And that's exactly what Jerry was doing too. So it's a mixture of new and old. We can still use paper logs, and you know, we don't have to worry about emissions and things like that, but it's using that much more fuel. It's being way more efficient, making a lot more power, and it's dependable. And that's really kind of, to us, the sweet spot of when trucks were just ideal. It was pre-emissions, but yet electronic fuel injection. So right in there is kind of what we were after. And so Brian could have replaced this truck many times over, I'm sure, but this is a real sweetheart of a truck, and it's fun to see it get a new lease on life now, and I'm excited. So I don't know if I told you this already, but we have Peterbilt parts. The engine came out of a Freightliner, so the wiring harness and things like that are Freightliner. The throttle assembly even still says Freightliner right on it, down there. And the rear clip of this truck is international. I believe on the other side there's one tiny little piece that has the word Volvo stuck on it, but don't tell anybody. That's kind of a secret. Yeah, it's kind of a hodgepodge of all kinds of things stitched together. The FRANKENWORTH. Peterbilt, Freightliner, Kenworth, International, Volvo. All together. One happy truck. So I was out trucking today, and the boys got some more of the plumbing done on our project, and they fired it up for the first time today. So that's really exciting, and just by hearing it on the video on my phone, sounded pretty good. But I'm excited to hear it myself in real life. But that's just kind of an update of where it's at right now. Looks like they're still working on the ductwork and some of the coolant piping and stuff like that. So they didn't run the engine for very long, just sort of fired it up and let it idle for a minute or whatever. But still, it's exciting. Good progress. So, yeah, getting some, looks like air conditioning straightened out. And yeah, they must have gotten the rest of the wiring done, which is awesome. And I saw just a minute ago, I was poking around in here. Mark is really, really sharp with wiring. So you can see he's incorporating some of the Freightliner stuff that was in the dash of the old truck, the donor Freightliner, and putting it into the dash of the Kenworth. And that'll be things like the cruise control switches, the idle control, the mechanical switch for the fan, clutch engagement, things like that. And I think he's going to have the diagnostic connector for the scan tool. I don't know if he's going to have to put a light in the dash or not for check engine. I'm not really sure. I'll have to ask him. But yeah, neat and tidy. Everything's marked. He's doing a great job. So I'm impressed. And yeah, looks like the fuel tank got put on today too. We sent that out for repair. It had some pinholes that were corroded through on it, so they repaired that for us. Looks like they did an awesome job. Of course, powder coated it for us. Ooh, they did both bands. Nice. That's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna have to get in there and match the pinstriping that I did on that tank over there. There we go. I'm gonna match the pinstriping on that tank and put it on the back of this tank. So when it's time. But yeah, exciting. I think I heard the goal is to have this thing on the road like the day after tomorrow, to stay local with it, get all the bugs and the kinks worked out of it, because there's always little stuff, but no major leaks, no knocking, no bad sounds. So I'll definitely sleep better tonight knowing that. So yeah, good progress. Love it. First time out of the shop with N14 power. Heck yeah. Here's the old engine, the new one's inside. along in the first test drive, man.
Well, you built the motor, Philip.
Well, I don't know.
You know, it's more of your time went into this motor than mine.
That is awesome.
Well, 35 pounds of... Oh yeah,
She wants to go.
This is a runner. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Cruise works. Cruise works.
That is awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Cool, man. What a cool truck.
Yep. Just got way better. Love it.
This thing's got some power. More than this truck's ever felt. Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Jake's worked really well.
Good. He just wants to go.
Yeah, it's working.
That works better than the Jake's on my truck. That's awesome.
It's not obnoxiously loud like the Cummins was with straight pipes.
Yeah, so you took that muffler out that you had in here with the big cam, right?
Yeah,
It's
because
just
the
straight
turbo was lower, so I couldn't get the muffler snagged in there very well, and so
Yeah.
I just did a flex pipe from the turbo back.
And there's nothing in these stacks. It's truly straight pipe all the way right now. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. Praise the Lord, man. That is so cool.
Yeah. We gotta show off tomorrow.
Yeah, we gotta stop and see the man. I love coming here. There's cool stuff every time we're here. There's that other B model, that red and white one, still here.
That big cam 3 that was on the floor, just the lock, you know, that was out of that truck.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Yep.
Heck yeah! Let's go climb some hills.
Yeah.
After being on the road for 1 week and pulling loads, this thing is doing really, really well. The guys are telling me that it's making gobs of power and boost. Fluids are all looking good, no weird sounds. So I'd say that's mission accomplished. Super, super pleased with how an older truck like this can be updated, and it's really fun to see this engine out on the road and doing well. So can I say that I'm maybe a little bit bummed out that it didn't end up in the cab over? Well, sure, but you know what? Plans change, and we're going to get that cab over on the road. I'm not worried about that one bit. And this old girl needed an engine. We had this engine sitting around, and so the Lord just worked all that out. I think that's pretty awesome. So, hey, thanks for coming along on this episode, and it was fun to show you, even though I wasn't around for every step of this process. I tried to capture what I could for you. So thanks for supporting the channel, everybody. If you want to interact with me, you'll find me at Instagram. It's @flannel_Philip. If you put anything down in the comments down below, I appreciate that because that helps push our videos further out. But I don't really see the comments at all. So interact with me. I'm also on Rumble and Getter, but most of the time I'm over on Instagram. So peace and grease, everybody. Thanks again.
Come on down. Oh, come here. Come here. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Oops. I'm going to have to recut that because I just smacked the microphone. Don't do that.